Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐵.
Hello and welcome to ForumIAS. Today is 17 September 2023, coming to you with the most important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. These are the 5 articles I am going to discuss with you. So, we are going to discuss our first article with climate change tackling new disease scenarios. In its latest report released this March, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change delivers a stark warning. Climate change heightens the global risk of infectious diseases because we all know that the close relationship between climate and diseases, and it is being demonstrated every year. According to World Health Organization, mosquito bites result in more than 1 million deaths every year. Malaria being one of the major causes of death. Some of the mosquito-borne diseases are malaria, dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika fever. So, now we're going to discuss about malaria. It is caused by a parasite Plasmodium. This disease is transmitted via bites of infected Anopheles mosquitoes. The parasites multiply in the liver and affect the red blood cells. Symptoms for the disease include fever, headache, and vomiting. Malaria can be life-threatening if not treated immediately. Second one is dengue fever. Dengue virus is transmitted by female mosquitoes of the species Aedes aegypti and to a lesser extent by a 𝐒𝐴lbopictus. Symptoms for the disease include high fever, severe headache, pain in muscles and bones, and mild bleeding from the nose and gums, among others. Some people might also contract a more severe form of the disease called dengue hemorrhagic fever. Now talk about the chikungunya. This is a viral disease transmitted by the bite of infected mosquitoes such as Aedes aegypti and Aedes 𝐒𝐴lbopictus. It can cause high fever, joint and muscle pain, and headache. However, no specific treatment for this disease, and one would need to take rest and consume fluids until the symptoms go up. Next is about Zika fever. Zika virus is also transmitted through the bite of an infected Aedes species mosquito. The symptoms are mild and may include fever, joint muscle pain or rash. There is, however, no vaccine to prevent the virus. C. Dengue manifests in 2 to 3 peaks throughout the year. Variability in temperature, precipitation, and humidity disrupt disease transmission cycles. And these also alter the distribution of the vectors and animal reservoirs that host the parasites. Heat has been proven to interfere with the genomic structure of pathogens, changing their infectivity and virulence. Now, let's understand how climate change and infections are related. So, we know that because of climate change, more infections occur. Habitat loss forces disease, carrying animals to encroach upon human territory, increasing the risk of human-animal interaction and the transfer of pathogens from wildlife to humans. See, example of Nipah virus. If we talk about zoonotic disease, zoonotic diseases are illness that can be transmitted between animals and humans. These diseases can be caused by bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi. If we talk about of animal species and how human infected, then we have 2 types. First is wildlife zoonosis. These diseases primarily involve interactions between humans and wildlife, such as hantavirus infections transmitted by rodents or diseases spread by wild birds like bird flu. Second is domestic animal zoonosis. Diseases such as brucellosis from cattle or toxoplasmosis from cats fall under this category. So, an analysis of 2022 published in Nature Climate Change warns that humans now face a broader spectrum of infectious agents than ever before. We all know that infectious diseases threatening the humans and it worsen with changing climate patterns. New transmission routes, including environmental sources, medical tourism, and contaminated food and water from once reliable sources. If we talk about the transmission routes because disease find new routes, let's understand about environmental factors. The infectious agents are present in soil, water, and plants as well. These agents can be transmitted to people and may cause diseases. For example, hookworm. It is transmitted through contaminated soil and legionnaires disease is spread by water supplied to condensers and cooling towers. Medical tourism means contaminated objects. The objects around us carry pathogens. Touching the infected objects which were initially used by a diseased person might render us diseased. Contaminated blood and medical supplies can also spread infections. And also from contaminated food and water. See, improperly canned and undercooked food is the main source of infections. Water also carries various pathogens from rivers and lakes. It should be boiled or filtered before use. E. coli is transmitted through contaminated food, which causes various stomach problems. Botulism is caused by the consumption of improperly canned food. Cholera is one waterborne disease which has affected millions of people consuming contaminated water. C. India in particular has felt the ominous effect with early summers and erratic monsoons causing water scarcity across the Gangetic Plains and Kerala. These climatic shifts are manifesting in severe health crises, including a dengue epidemic in Dhaka and Kolkata and the Nipah outbreak in Kerala. Let's understand this. The moisture from land and water is rapidly evaporating due to the high atmospheric temperature. This caused drought. Those areas that are affected by drought are highly susceptible to the negative effects of flooding. See, this high temperature across the globe can pose health risks and death. The increased heat waves caused by climate change have led to the deaths of many. Now, come to the point of surveillance and reporting. Over the past 2 decades, India has improved its reporting of outbreaks. The Integrated Disease Surveillance Program was rolled out in few states in 2007. From reporting 553 outbreaks in 2008, it last reported 1,714 in 2017. Near real-time electronic information system called Integrated Health Information Platform (IHIP). It was launched in 7 states in 2018. It added 20 additional disease conditions over IDSPs 13 and could present disaggregated data to its users. C. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has launched the Integrated Health Information Platform, that is the next generation, highly refined version of the presently used Integrated Disease Surveillance Program, that is IDSP. IIHP is an advanced disease surveillance system. It will provide a health information system developed for real-time, case-based information, integrated analytics, advanced visualization capability. And its key feature is real-time data reporting, geographic information system, enabled graphical representation of data into integrated dashboard, geotagging of reporting health facilities and also having the scope for data integration with other health programs. But tragically, the program which would have enabled real-time tracking of emerging diseases outbreaks has not delivered on expectations. This stated in this article. C. Mitigating the spread of climate change induced diseases requires safeguarding ecosystems, curbing greenhouse gas emissions, and implementing active pathogen surveillance. Now, let's discuss about greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases absorb heat radiation from the sun. Following the initiation of the Industrial Revolution, the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere has increased exponentially. This has led to more absorption and retaining the heat in the atmosphere. This resulted in an increase in global temperature. The greenhouse gases mostly do not absorb the solar radiation but absorb most of the infrared emitted by the Earth's surface. The main greenhouse gases include water vapor, carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, methane, nitrous oxide. So, we need to cut the greenhouse gas emission. Now, I am going to discuss about one-term approach. In 2022, a new One Health Joint Plan of Action was launched by the quadripartite, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the United Nations Environment Programme, the World Health Organization, and the World Organization for Animal Health. The action plan developed through a participatory process provided a set of activities that aim to strengthen collaboration, communication, capacity building, and coordination equally across all sectors responsible for addressing health concerns at the human, animal, plant, environment interface. This plan is valid from 2022 to 2026 and is aimed at mitigating the health challenges at global, regional, and country levels. Let me tell you the focus areas of the action plan. That is, one health capacity for health systems, emerging and re-emerging zoonotic epidemics, endemic zoonotic, neglected tropical and vector-borne diseases, antimicrobial resistance and the environment, and the last one is food safety risk. This approach is pivotal in preventing outbreaks, especially those that originate from animals. It encompasses zoonotic diseases, neglected tropical diseases, vector-borne diseases, antimicrobial resistance, and environmental contamination. And India must launch One Health and infectious disease control programs by building greater synergies between the center and states. Now, animal husbandry, forest and wildlife, municipal corporations, and public health departments need to converge and set up robust surveillance systems. And also, more importantly, they will need to build trust and confidence, share data, and devise logical lines of responsibility and work with a coordinating agency. Now, let's discuss the Disease X. What is Disease X? Disease X is not a new disease, it is potential disease that is yet to be discovered and cause the next pandemic. Disease X is a placeholder name adopted by the World Health Organization in 2018. According to WHO, it represents the knowledge that a serious international epidemic could be caused by a pathogen currently unknown to cause human disease. Climate change is not limited to infectious diseases. It also exacerbates injuries and deaths from extreme weather events, respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, and mental health issues. So, we can conclude that in the face of a changing climate and the growing threat of infectious diseases, protecting ecosystems, fostering collaboration, and embracing the One Health paradigm are our best defenses. So, that's the topic I have discussed. This is the second topic we are going to discuss. That is tackling the various myths within the field of microbiome research. Microbes in our bodies outnumber our own cells 10 to 1. However, according to an assessment published in Nature Microbiology, this is a myth. In a 2016 study, the assessment's authors cited researchers from Israel and Canada estimated a 70 kg reference man to have 38 trillion bacterial cells and 30 trillion human cells. First, understand about microbiome. What is microbiome? It is a collection of all microbes present at any location, be it soil, plant, or the human body. About human microbiome, the meaning is Human body carries diverse communities of microorganisms which are mainly bacterial. These are referred to as human microbiome. These organisms play a key role in many aspects of host physiology, ranging from metabolism of complex indigestible carbohydrates and fats to producing essential vitamins, maintaining human systems, etc. Current estimates of the size of the gut microbiome are also based on adults living in urban areas of high income countries. So, the following are the 11 claims that the article checked. First one is the age of the field. One of the more beginning misconception, the assessment that is, scientists had described and speculated on the benefit of bacteria inhabiting the gut, such as E. coli and bifidobacteria, as early as the late 19th and early 20th centuries itself. About E. coli, it is a rod-shaped bacteria that generally lives in the intestines of humans and most other mammals. Usually, it is harmless and quite beneficial for the health of the organism, but some variations of these bacteria are quite harmful and cause severe food poisoning. About bifidobacteria, they are a group of bacteria called probiotics that normally live in your intestines and stomach. They help your body perform essential functions such as digestion and staving off harmful bacteria. If we talk about the origin, in June 2017, paper that the authors cited Whips.J.M. Lewis K. and 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐢𝐸 RC had used the term in 1988 to describe a community of microbes and number of microbes. Some of the more prevalent and more harmful myths concern the size of the microbiome. The absolute microbial cells in 1 gram of human feces have been exaggerated to 10 to 100 fold. But according to the authors, the actual number is around 10 raised to power 10 to 10 raised to power 12. If we talk about mass of microbiome, many research articles have stated that the human microbiota weighs 12 kg. It only weighs about half a kg or less, and the authors wrote that the 2016 study by Israeli and Canadian researchers estimated that it weighs about 200 grams. Let's understand the next point, that is from mother to child. Contrary to some opinions, mothers don't pass their microbiomes to their children at birth. Some microorganisms are directly transferred during birth, but they constitute a small fraction of the human microbiota, and only an even smaller fraction of these microbes survive, so persist throughout the child's life. Every adult ends up with a unique microbiota configuration, even identical twins that are raised in the same household. Next one is, are microbes dangerous? Microbe and its metabolite are good or bad depends on the context. For example, most humans carry a species of bacteria called Clostridium difficile without any disease for life. This causes problems only in the elderly or in people with compromised immune systems. Next one is about the Firmicutes bacteroidetes ratio. One myth correlates obesity with the ratio of two phyla of bacteria, Firmicutes and bacteroidetes. The problem with this myth is that the level of phyla is too broad to comment on effects with confidence. See, phylum is a group within a kingdom. In the descending order of classifying organisms, a kingdom comprises different phyla. A phylum comprises classes, then there are orders, families, genuses, and finally species. Even within a bacterial species, several strains behave differently, causing the host to manifest different clinical systems. Now, Are all microbes functional? Some researchers have swung the other way, claiming that different microbes are actually functional redundant. They said that microbes are actually functionally redundant. However, the authors wrote that while different bacteria in the human microbiome perform some common important functions, many functions are the preserve of a few species. Means some perform common functions and many functions are preserved for few species. Now, let's talk about sequencing is not unbiased. See, the authors note that the notion that sequencing is unbiased, it is a misconception that biases can be introduced at various stages of studies. Actually, it is based on the microbe's genetic material. We have to collect the samples to store them and using of software to analyze the sequence data. Next one is, are standardized methods vital? According to the authors, there is a common opinion in microbiome research that researchers need standardized methods because they want to compare the findings of different studies. But no methodology is perfect, and that adopting one universal methodology and it would come at the cost of turning a blind eye to the limitations of the chosen method. Last one is about the culturable microbiome. It is difficult to grow microbes from the human microbiome in the lab in 1970s, when scientists cultured diverse microbiome species from the gut. Let's understand the India's initiative of microbiome. The cost estimation for the project is rupees 150 crore, and this project aims to study various microbiomes present in the human body and improve knowledge of evolution of the mutualism between gut microbiota and the host. About 90 endogenous groups will be studied along with 13 ethnic tribes chosen for their specific features. Now, one more thing we should know that is scientists at NCSS have conducted a meta-analysis on gut microbiota of healthy Indian individuals and compared it with that of individuals from other parts of the world. It shows that the Indian population harbors a distinct gut microbial community, which scientists say calls for an in-depth investigation of the Indian microbiome. That's all for this topic. I'm going to discuss the third topic, that is centers of tense annual tax rules. This is the relevant to our prelims GS paper 1. The government has eased some of the provisions of the annual tax introduced in the year budget on investments into startups by non-resident investors at premium over their fair market value. As per a notification issued by the Central Board of Direct Taxes on Monday, Rule 11 UA under the Income Tax Act has been amended, with some changes to the draft norms released in May. So, it has introduced 5 different valuation methods for shares and offered a 10% tolerance for deviations from the accepted share valuations. But 5 methods is not available to resident investors. Let's understand angel tax. Angel tax is levied when an unlisted company issues shares to an investor at a price higher than its fair market value. Means it is the tax that must be paid on the funds raised by unlisted companies through the issuance of shares in off market transactions if they exceed the fair market value of the company. What is the fair market value? Let's understand this. It is the price of an asset when buyer and seller have reasonable knowledge of it and are willing to trade without pressure. Previously, angel tax provisions were applicable only for investments. received from resident investors. However, Finance Bill 2023 has extended its applicability to non-resident investors as well. It is levied at a rate of 30.9% on net investments in excess of the fair market value. Angel tax essentially derives it from Section 56 to 7B of the Income Tax Act in 1961. The Finance Act 2012 introduced Section 56 to 7B in the Income Tax Act, which taxes any investment received by any unlisted Indian company valued above the fair market value by treating it as income. So, as per a notification issued by the Central Board of Direct Taxes on Monday, it has introduced 5 different valuation methods for shares and offered a 10% tolerance for deviations from the accepted share valuations, but 5 methods is not available to resident investors. That's all for this topic. This topic is about the survey. Survey undertaken by the Indian Council of Medical Research found that salt intake was higher among the employed sections, tobacco users, and those with elevated blood pressure. So, they estimated mean daily salt intake in India stands at 8 gram, 8.9 gram a day for men and 7.1 gram a day for women, against the World Health Organization recommendation of up to 5 gram daily. See, let me tell you, the body needs a small amount of sodium to work properly, but too much sodium increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, and premature death. Let's understand about sodium. Sodium is a chemical element with the symbol Na and atomic number is 11. Sodium is the sixth most abundant element in the Earth's crust and exists in numerous minerals such as feldspars, sodalite, and halite. The body needs a small amount of sodium to work properly, but it is also contained in other condiments such as sodium glutamate. In the survey, we can say that the salt intake was significantly higher among men, those in rural areas, and overweight and obese respondents, according to a recent survey by the Indian Council of Medical Research. The mean dietary salt intake is high in the Indian population, which calls for planning and implementing control of dietary salt consumption measures. We need to cut down on eating processed foods and those cooked outside home. Even 10,659 adults aged 18-69 years participated in the survey. Also, it specifies that reducing the intake is a beneficial and cost-effective way to bring down elevated blood pressure by 25% and advocates a 30% reduction in mean population salt intake by 2025. The largest number of diet-related deaths, an estimated 1.89 million each year, is associated with excessive intake of sodium, a well-established cause of raised blood pressure and increased risk of cardiovascular disease. The main type of NCD are cardiovascular diseases such as heart attacks and stroke, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and asthma, and diabetes. In the survey, it is estimated that 28.1% of the total deaths in India in 2016, 1.63 million deaths were attributable to hypertension as against 0.78 million deaths in 1990. But the study did not capture data on the actual dietary sources of salt in food items and condiments for any correlation analysis. That's all for this topic. Let's move forward for the other topic. This is the last topic of today's discussion. It is about 95% of components used in Indian rockets. And ISRO chief saying that it is indigenous. So, nearly 95% of the components used in the rockets, including those used in Chandrayaan 3 mission, were made in India and were a result of several years of development involving the Indian Space Research Organization. And what ISRO chief said that it is a result of collaborations with various agencies, including Indian laboratories, national labs, defense labs, and CSIR labs, and also focusing on material indigenization, technology capabilities, and research. In this time, the ISRO built its own lithium ion batteries for space applications and was now in the process of transferring it to the industry. Several key components were made at Chandigarh Semiconductor Laboratory, and only about 5% of high end electronics were imported for the space mission. Let's understand about lithium ion batteries. Lithium ion battery applications are electronic gadgets, telecommunication, aerospace, and industrial applications. Lithium is the lightest of all metals and has the greatest electrochemical potential and provides the largest specific energy per weight. How does a lithium ion cell work? In a lithium ion battery, lithium ions move between the cathode and anode internally. Electrons move in the opposite direction in the external circuit. This migration is the reason the battery powers the device because it creates the electrical current. What ISRO chief said that the ISRO builds its own lithium ion batteries for space applications and was now in the process of transferring it to the industry. That's all for this topic. Coming to the mains question and PYQ of prelims. So, this is the mains question for you. Give a short introduction of climate change and discuss its associated issues. So, I hope the discussion what we had in first article, I hope you would be able to answer for this question. If you are having any doubts, then you can post in comment box. Next question is, which of the following is issued by registered foreign portfolio investors to overseas investors who want to be part of the Indian stock market without registering themselves directly? First option is certificate of deposit, commercial paper, promissory note, and participatory note. So the correct answer is participatory note, because participatory notes, also referred to as P notes or PNAs, are financial instruments required by investors or hedge funds to invest in Indian securities without having to register with the Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI. Next question is, Climate Action Tracker, which monitors the emission reduction pledges of different countries, is a first is database created by coalition of research organizations. Second is wing of International Panel of Climate Change. Third is committee under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Fourth is agency promoted and financed by United Nations Environment Programme and World Bank. So the correct answer is option number 1. The Climate Action Tracker is an independent scientific analysis that tracks government climate action and measures it against the globally agreed Paris Agreement aim of holding warming well below 2 degrees Celsius and pursuing efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So, that's all for today's discussion. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Thank you and all the best.